Today with Chair of Virginia Legislative Black Caucus, Lamont Bagby. Mr. Bagby, can you tell me about what the caucus plan to do on this special session?
So the main thing we want to do in the special session is get across legislation that are focused on COVID-19 relief. So it's three pieces: COVID-19 relief, policing, and then justice reform. We don't call it criminal justice reform any longer. We want to focus on justice reform because justice reform is pretty broad. And so what we want to make sure we're doing is we're focusing on opportunities that are before us to make sure that we are not over-arresting and not overcharging, but we are actually providing resources to individuals that need support. And so it's all connected. From education and how we fund education to housing, healthcare, mental health support, how we fund the police, what we fund the police, what we expect of the police, how we hold them accountable. All of that is all connected, and we hope to get as much of that accomplished in a special session. But what we aren't able to accomplish in the special session, we will surely put forth aggressively in the 2021 session come January. There is overwhelming support, not only from my colleagues, my Democratic colleagues in the House and the Senate, but also from the governor's mansion. And so we're happy that the administration is on board. I would like to see more Republicans speak out and say where they stand on these issues. But until then, I would encourage individuals in the community to do what I think is their public duty, and that is to make sure that their voices are heard and make sure that they survey all of the legislators, including myself, to make sure that they know where we stand on these respective issues. There's a host of issues that we're focused on. The Black Caucus put out a press release sort of putting those things in pockets so that it'd be easy for individuals to know what we're focused on. But it's important for individuals to take a look at their list, see what else is missing, encourage other individuals to patron that legislation. But what's most important is that individuals across the Commonwealth challenge their elected officials to support this meaningful legislation. I don't think we will have a better time or another time such as this. And so we don't, as I said before, we don't want to take advantage of the situation, but we do want to be fully prepared for the situation and the opportunity to finally exert the strength that we have to make sure that the Commonwealth is behaving in a fashion that is equitable and provides justice for all.
Looking at the statutes, there was an arrest yesterday. What are your thoughts in terms of the tear gas and the rubber bullets?
Well, I want to make sure that we are encouraging peaceful protests, and peaceful protests focus on, hopefully, I believe the individuals that are protesting are focused on the injustices that have been on display on our TVs, in our newspapers, and in our communities for the last couple of weeks. And I think we saw Breonna Taylor murder. We saw Ahmaud Arbery murder. I think the boiling point had already been on its way, but we really reached our boiling point with Brother Floyd. And so what we are hoping, the individuals that are protesting and doing that in a peaceful fashion, remember why you're doing it and focus on justice and equity. And the same thing that we'll be focusing on, along with how we hold police officers accountable when they use excessive force. We need to make sure that we're looking at when and where police officers use tear gas. But we also need to make sure that we're holding everybody accountable, and we're holding everyone or protecting everyone's safety. We can't have police officers being injured. no more than we can have individuals that are peacefully protesting being tear gassed. It's our responsibility as elected officials and people in leadership to make sure that it's a safe environment, and that means holding everyone accountable. And we can't allow anyone to destroy this opportunity for us and mix up our message, because our message has always been peaceful protesting, making our voices heard. And I don't think there's been a time in history where we've had a greater opportunity to actually turn that into legislation, laws, and mandates. So we're convinced that in August we'll be able to get a lot accomplished, but then come January, we will really be able to do some things that the public will be proud of.
I guess the last question I want to sit and ask you right now, Representative Lamont, the housing crisis. There was a memorandum, a moratorium on evictions. It has been lifted. They're saying there's 1,900 people right now will be evicted. Not only that, they're saying 50% of the individuals will not be eligible for this CARES funding. What are we to do?
There's help on the way. I would encourage individuals to listen to announcements that are going to be coming from the governor very, very soon. And those will be first steps. Well, I wouldn't say first steps because we've already made a few steps. But this will be a huge step in the right direction. And what we are committed to do, the governor and the Black Caucus, and I think most members of the General Assembly are committed to not just kicking the can down the street, but making sure that we provide that assistance to individuals for their rent. Now, the main thing we have to make sure that we do is we have to protect the landlord and the tenant. We need to make sure that the landlord receives their funds, and we need to make sure that the tenant has housing. And I think what the governor has planned and what we've been working on together will accomplish that. And so we're going to be providing some relief. And I tell you, just to give you an idea of, I think the city of Richmond and other localities across the Commonwealth have already started to put their funding in place to provide assistance to individuals that are having challenges associated with housing. And this is not thousands of dollars, this is going to be millions of dollars. And it's going to have to be a couple different buckets of millions of dollars to help people have relief, because it's not a situation where you can just kick the can down and say, you don't have to pay yet, you don't have to pay yet. Because you got March, April, May, June, July, August, and maybe even September, where individuals won't be able to pay their rent the way that they have traditionally been able to pay it. And so they're going to need support from us and reissuing those tax dollars to help them with their the challenge. Because we can't kick the can down the road. We have to provide these individuals not just a suspension, but some real relief.
Is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
I appreciate your steadfast work, man. This is work that we're going to have to accomplish together. I think you would agree that this is the opportunity that we have to be prepared for. The time is now. You're hearing it from so many individuals. A lot of individuals that have remained quiet in the past are now stepping forward and saying that they have our back. And so we want to make sure that we deliver on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, man.